Hey Lovely Gang, it's Marcia Lovelyy, and today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's not necessarily a glam video or anything like that, nor is it a fun video to film at all. Today I'm going to talk about the day my brother passed away, let you know what happened and when, and just what I remember from my experience. So this feels like something you may want to see. Then stay tuned. And if it's triggering for you, please keep that in mind, that this may not be a video that you may want to watch. But let's just get into it.
Does it make you nervous? I'm not afraid to say what I want. Does it put fear into your heart that I know where I started, far from where I begun?
So my brother and my older sister, as you guys may know from previous videos, have lived in California. After we moved to Georgia, they stayed in California. And I don't know exactly the age difference from my brother and I. If I had to guess, I would say maybe like 11, 12 years, something around there. I don't know. But when I was younger, he was already a teenager. Younger as in don't even remember back then. He was already a teenager. Of course he lived with me then, but of course I don't remember it. So when I got old enough to understand things and be a kid and remember things, he was already out of the house. So by the time I became a teenager, we already moved to Georgia. So all he ever knew me and viewed me as is a little girl, because although I was 16, I mean, in his mind, I was the same little girl. And ultimately I wasn't grown or anything. I didn't act grown. He would call me little mama, and that's just how he addressed me. Hey, little mama, every time he talked to me, and that's what it was. So I don't know how he was with his friends, how he acted when he partied, or just the normal things. I only know him in that big brother, little girl persona. Anytime he would call my mom's phone, and she would call out to us that your brother want to talk to you after they finished their conversation or before, however that would go. And a lot of times, because of the time difference from Georgia and California, it would be late at night for us. So sometimes I would get up and go speak. Sometimes I wouldn't. And this particular day that he called, it was late at night. I remember my sister getting up to go to speak to him after my mom told us he was on the phone, and I remember staying in bed, sleep. So I don't know when the last time I spoke to him was before that. I don't even know what our conversation was like. All I remember distinctly is that I did not get up to go speak to him when he called this particular night. He had just had a baby the month before. So he was talking to my mom, and he was telling her how he wanted to move to Georgia and his plans and things of that nature. That's what I do know about the conversation that they had. Of course, she was happy and wanted him to come. And then he spoke to my sister, and that was that. So the next morning, I want to say it had to be like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, our time. My older sister was trying to reach my mom, and my mom wasn't answering the phone because she was asleep and didn't hear it. So she called my other sister's phone, Antoinette, and she was hysterically crying. And I remember my sister couldn't get out what it was. So Antoinette jumped up and went in there and woke my mom up. And when my mom got on the phone, she was saying, what is it? That's what it was that she was saying that my brother had been killed. What I remember about that is I remember when I was processing it because I was hearing everything that was going on, and they were crying hysterically, and I didn't want to go in my mom's room. I don't even know why. I just remember just in my bed processing it. I just remember everybody coming to our house, and it was like my whole family was at my house. And I remember my grandma bringing chicken, and it was like it was unreal. I'm pretty sure because I was 16 and in the 16-year-old mind, I'm pretty sure it did not register to me exactly. Like I knew, but it still hadn't hit me for real. For real. So at that point, I had never been to a funeral. So I remember my mom and my sister talking to us, and the decision was made that we would not go to his funeral and that we would just remember him as he was and not see him in a casket. And still, I think it would have been traumatizing had I gone. But a lot of people did not agree with that necessarily. But I think it was best that we didn't go, especially now having been to funerals and just still how traumatizing they are for me at my age, and how I still have nightmares of seeing my loved one laying in that casket like that. Had it been my brother when I was 16 years old, and that's the first funeral I ever been to, that would have been devastating for sure. And I agree with the decision that my mother made for us not to go. Basically, what happened was, based on the news article that I've read and I still have in my phone, it was June 3rd at 1:05 a.m. and he was from Oakland, just like everybody in my family, and he was in San Francisco at the time. I'm sorry. He was in San Francisco, and he ran into a donut shop at 1:05 a.m. and someone in a ski mask ran in after him yelling and shot him in the head. And there was workers in the donut shop. There was customers in the donut shop. And from the news article and the interviews, they were really traumatized and had to shut the donut shop down. So speculation that he was being chased, which is why he ran into the donut shop, to just try to get away. But we don't, or I don't know all of the facts as to exactly what happened. The facts that I know is that he was shot in the head, and he was transported to the San Francisco hospital and died there later. It was really hard on my family. My mom went through a huge depression, and I didn't realize it. But looking back in hindsight, I can for sure see the depression that she would go through. And I mean, today, it still affects her for sure. It was her child, her only son, and you're not supposed to bury your children at all. My sister, who grew up really close with him, is the same for her. I could see it affect her really bad, and it's hard for her as well. Every year, we try to do something like a balloon release, or I've started to adopt the whole light a candle type of deal. But every year we try to do something. But with his birthday being so close to his death date, as death usually happens that way, that whole week is just tough, you know. So where's my brother's daughter, you guys may wonder. She is in California. She is now a teenager, as crazy as it is. She's a teenager and she lives in California with her mom. I feel like a lot of times before someone dies, it's almost as if they know that this is about to happen, because the way they act, the way they may say their goodbyes in their own way, and you don't really even know that that's the goodbye. I've seen it happen so many times, and that phone call that night, I feel like was his goodbye. I found out that there was a time where he was wanting to see my uncle, because my uncle was in town and he loved my uncle a lot, and he was doing all this stuff trying to get to my uncle. And when he finally caught up to my uncle right before my uncle was leaving, my uncle was like literally going outside to leave, and they were able to talk for a few minutes. And then apparently from my sister, he went into my sister's house and he was crying, saying that that'll probably be the last time he see my uncle. I don't know how he knew that, but it was. Now I wish he was here more than ever. I guess back then as a teen, I didn't really know, or I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't feel like I even really cried hard. But when I got to college is when it hit me all those years later that there's like a void that I have of not having my big brother here. I'm doing all these things. I'm old enough to drink. I'm partying or having fun, and I'm able to do that with both of my sisters. But my brother didn't get to see that side of me because I was always that little girl in his mind. He doesn't know what I'm like now. And essentially, I don't know what he was like. Although he was grown, I was just too young for us to have that connection, that real connection that I want so badly. So because of all these years of living without my brother, I've always felt like I could relate to death. I just had the mindset of, I lost my brother. Like, I know what death feels like. Life recently have taught me that I had no idea what death was like. Although I lost my brother and I miss him dearly and I wish he was here, because we didn't have that close bond as peers. It was not the same until I lost an actual peer, someone that I grew up with and I saw every day for an extended amount of time. And then as we got older, it was every month. I understand now. So it just makes me feel even worse for, like, if this is what death feels like, this is what my sister feels, losing her brother that she grew up with side by side, like me and Antoinette, or my mom with it being her child. I just understand. It's all in perspective for me now. I just remember going to my uncle's wedding and my brother kept singing this Janet Jackson song over and over and over and over again. And as much as that got on my nerves at that time, I would do anything to just hear him sing that song again. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what happened to my brother. Love you guys, Lovelyy Gang. Thank you so much for listening to me and supporting me. And I'm happy to have gotten through this. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And leave an encouraging comment down below, because I would love to hear from you all. Love you.